Welcome to the Pro Farmer Podcast, your source for what's impacting prices today and your guide to what will impact markets in the weeks ahead. More substance, less fuss. The Pro Farmer Podcast starts now.
Welcome to the Pro Farmer Podcast, everyone. Davis Michelson here with you, along with Hillary Mason to talk some markets for us. Today is, May 12th, 2025 already, May 12th. Lots to get to. We've got some big news to talk about with the negotiations with China over the weekend. Apparently, it went pretty well. We're going to talk with Brian Grady about that just a little bit later on. But first, Hillary, the markets have been, let me just run them down here quick for you. Wheat futures on Friday closed lower. Corn futures and soybean futures higher. The fat cattle, the fat cattle feeders were lower, I noticed here. And then we had the hogs higher. Where do you want to start on last week's markets? You want to go to the wheat market first? I feel like that one might be kind of easy to figure.
Yeah, it just keeps getting beat down. And corn kind of it sympathized with it last week as well. And largely just I think made just a risk off tone. Kind of kicked off the week last week, and it really it pushed wheat to contract lows. Corn hit a 5-month low, lowest price this year. Just mainly because the market was waiting for a trade deal or confirmation of a trade deal. Soybeans seem to advance through the week mostly sideways and consolidative trade and a show of relative strength. And then we did see some export demand last week, a couple consecutive purchases from Pakistan, corn purchases. And then crude oil started to kind of rebound towards the end of the week. So
interestingly here, a lower U.S. dollar index was not enough to keep wheat interested. We had, I feel like the corn market should have responded a little bit better to some decent export sales. And I guess the soybeans I have no beef with here, but it does seem like the grain and the soybean markets are just kind of meh, just sort of laying here uninspired. What do you make of it?
Yeah, I think, again, corn plantings are progressing quite well thus far, mainly because you've got some, dry weather up in the upper Midwest, and it's allowing those efforts to progress. So, but, in other areas, we've got some issues. But, so far, I think the marketplace feels like we're on track. Also, weather in Brazil has improved. So production prospects for the Safrinha crop are hanging in there, and harvest is just around the corner. So we've got some just kind of a wet blanket hanging over, the grain complex as a whole right now. So yeah, and to the trade with all the trade stuff kind of baked in there also. And again, I think the marketplace was kind of waiting to see what transpired with China over the weekend. So,
well, sure, and that certainly does make sense, and we'll have some details coming up here pretty quick. But it does certainly seem like the markets aren't sure what to pay attention to, or are a bit numbed by everything. Wait and see. I've heard from lots of analysts over the last week or so a pretty good case for maybe a June rally in the corn market, maybe a July rally in the soybean market. But in the meantime, I'm kind of hearing exactly what you're saying there. The markets just kind of want to wait and see.
Sure. There's going to be some lingering unknowns for a while. Because plantings are I think there's going to be some ambiguity around plantings for a minute. So I think the traders are going to focus on what they know. They're going to focus on what's going on in Brazil, and what's going on. What's getting confirmed from a trade perspective. What's happening. What's improving. Yeah, and we have the USDA report coming out today. So I think the marketplace was kind of preparing for that as well.
Yeah. We'll get to that. We'll preview that report here with Brian Grady in a moment. The June live cattle on Friday, 42.5 cents higher. Not a huge gain, but look at us at 214.67.5 there. Choice boxes were lower, but about $4 above the previous Friday's trade. Cash cattle hitting all-time new highs. cattle just keep running, don't they?
Yeah, it's we always as pro farmer people we say it's kind of a freight train that you just don't want to jump in front of. So
Sure.
yeah, it's hanging in there. And with the suspension of imports from Mexico, cattle imports from Mexico, that could certainly add to the volatility this week. So
Yeah, great. And then let's finish it out with the pork here. The June hogs ended Friday 40 cents higher at 97.57 and a half. But I like the July only up 17 and a half, but at that nice even $100.42 and a half cents. The hog market, Hillary.
yeah, no, I think some sideways trade here this week. Just again, and with what happened with China over the weekend, it could bring some buying interest into the pork complex. So
Excellent. Hillary, we appreciate you spending some time with us this morning. We'll cut you loose there. Come back on the other side of this break, dear viewer. We'll have Brian Grady to talk about a report preview and to give us some details about what went on with the meeting with China.
Hey everyone, Davis Michelson here, and if you're one of the listeners without access to ProFarmer's daily market reports and policy insights, this message is for you. Right now, you can start a free trial to ProFarmer, unlocking the same profit-boosting information that farmers have trusted for over 50 years. Sign up online at tryprofarmer.com. No credit card needed. Visit tryprofarmer.com to sign up and get more details and updates on the topics we're discussing today, plus much, much more.
Welcome back to the Pro Farmer Podcast, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. We do one of these each week to look back at last week's markets and then to look ahead at what's coming up in the coming days. Brian Grady, editor of Pro Farmer, joins me now. Bri Guy, we got two things I want to cover here. We'll get some pretty key information out of USDA today, but we've also gotten some pretty key information out of Geneva, Switzerland. Trump administration officials meeting with Beijing administration officials in Geneva. What have you got for us on that confab, buddy?
Yeah, major news, actually. Had very productive talks, major de-escalation of the trade war. Both countries rolling back their tariffs by 115 percentage points. So now U.S. will put tariffs of 30% only on Chinese goods, and it'll be 10% for American goods into China. So big news on that front, and it's got the markets juiced up here to kick off the week.
Well, and it's something that the markets have been looking for. We've seen consolidative trade. Hillary mentioned it in the corn and in the soybeans. The markets just kind of wait and see when it's not headed lower. Seems like. How much influence does this have on the markets that we see from day to day, and where can we expect that influence to arise?
Yeah, so soybeans kind of just paused, and they had somewhat of a bull flag formation on the daily charts there with the pause after the big run up previous to that, and now we get an upside breakout, and so we'll see how much hay traders can make on this one, but really supportive of the soybean market, obviously with China being the world's top consumer of soybeans, and so we'll see. I think that the key thing is that this gives negotiators 90 days, so through mid-August, to get a deal, comprehensive deal done. And we'll see, but there's been some hints that maybe revisit the phase one agreement that was agreed to under President Trump's first term. And so, those guaranteed purchase agreements, I think that will be the key as we move forward over the next 90 days. Now, fentanyl, those negotiations are separate, and some of the other things. And so, the U.S. tax on Chinese-based ships, that's going to be separate. It sounds like a Chinese delegation is heading to the United States this week for those talks. And this one is just on the tariffs that kind of blew up in April. So we'll see where it all goes. But there's different avenues to this, but the main one is that major de-escalation of the trade spat, at least for 90 days here.
And it is important to keep in mind. Thank you for pointing out. I mean, we're just sort of taking a pause here while we work out the details of some very specific sticking points from one side or the other. China needs that U.S. consumer market. The U.S. consumer needs those Chinese goods. I mean, we need each other. We got to work this out, don't we, Brian?
Well, absolutely. And I think that that's the biggest thing is that both sides realize that they need each other. There's never been a open, decoupling talk from either side. So this action proves that both sides understand the magnitude of the situation and how much it means for the U.S. market and the Chinese market to have the other one.
Okay. Now, we had a couple of deals, and I want to get off trade here for just a second eventually, but we had deals last week. We had the UK, had a very good showing, and a few others too. But I do know that people have been saying, well, if we can just get a deal with China, if we can just get it done, this isn't a deal necessarily, but does this, do we have a chance to maybe break out of some of our trading ranges now in corn and soybeans? Does this give us another rung on the ladder here in the markets?
Well, for soybeans, it does initially. So we'll see if that can lead to more buyer interest or not. The corn side of things, pretty muted response overnight, Sunday night into early Monday in terms of corn's impact. But definitely soybeans are going to lead the way. Wheat, we'll see if it gets any support at all. If it does, it's mostly on spillover from the soybean and corn markets. I doubt if there's going to be a whole lot of wheat involved in the trade negotiations between the two countries.
Sure. Speaking of what time it is, it's planting season, and I see they're mowing the lawns. I can see them going back and forth in your window behind you there. Central Iowa looking pretty good planting progress. Weather's cooperating and everything for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So if anything, it's been pretty dry. There was a lot of dust in the air over the weekend, a lot of planters out, and obviously with the drier conditions. Now, we did have some rains a couple weeks ago and pretty heavy rains through some of the areas. And so soil moisture is pretty decent. I'm hearing from a lot of the farmers in the local area here in Northeast Iowa that some of the best planting conditions they've had. So it's good. They're going to rip along. The planting pace for both corn and soybeans is going to be very rapid here.
Okay, and let's just take a moment, make sure that we're up to speed. Later on today, we've got crop production coming out from USDA. We got an S&D report, the first official look at the 25-26 tables. What are you looking for in the data dump from USDA today?
Well, first off, on the crop production side, that'll be the first winter wheat production estimate from USDA. And the Wheat Quality Council also has their HRW tour this week, Tuesday through Thursday. And so we're going to get quite a bit of data in terms of what it looks like production-wise for the U.S. winter wheat crop this week. On the S&Ds, so like you mentioned, the initial look at 25-26. Now, USDA has released some projections earlier, multiple times, based on previous some of the conditions as of November, I think it was, and then as of January. But this will be up to date. So this will have the March planting intentions in those tables. They'll use trendline yields for corn, soybeans. And so, this will give us the baseline. You shouldn't read more into it than what it is. This is, the best case or best guess as we sit here in early May and in terms of what will happen. A lot will change. Obviously, on the trade side of things, that can change the demand structure pretty dramatically, but this will be at least the guidelines for what USDA foresees for the 25-26 marketing year. And keep in mind, that doesn't start until September 1, so we're still months away from that point.
Excellent. Well, Brian Grady, I'm going to cut you loose there. I appreciate you spending some time with us. You can find the details, report reactions, and everything you might need to know on profarmer.com. If you're not a subscriber, visit tryprofarmer.com. I think you'll be glad you did. For Zach Zingula, thanks for production support. Hillary Mason, and of course, Pro Farmer editor Brian Grady. It's Davis Michelson. Thanks for tuning into the Pro Farmer Podcast.
Thanks for joining us. We'll return next week with another episode of the Pro Farmer Podcast. And remember, everything talked about today is updated throughout the week on profarmer.com and in this Friday's Pro Farmer newsletter.